Greetings, everyone, and welcome to my continuing series, Certified High Performance Coaching Training Series, in support of Dianne's CHPC Recertified Project 2017. The campaign is an online fundraising crowdfunding campaign that is hosted on Generosity by Indiegogo, and I established it to raise the funds that I will need to recertify as a certified high performance coach in June. So if you need any information on that, and hopefully be interested in supporting me, as well as offering any goods and services that you have as incentives for potential contributors, please connect down below. There's a link to the website there, and you can find out more about it. Now, as promised, this video series is to help get you familiar with the 5 pillars of high performance, which is the foundational concept that certified high performance coaches use with their clients to help them get to elevated levels of achievement. And we've covered clarity and energy, and today is courage. So I've dubbed this Color Me Courage Wednesdays. For some reason, color comes to mind when I think of courage because it's something that takes you out of your ordinary space. So let's say you kind of move around kind of grayish all day long, but something happens and you have to find some additional chutzpah, I guess, to deal with a particular situation. So if you're going to show up boldly and confidently, you're not always probably in that state, but that's going to require you getting to that state. And so to me, that has a color. And now when you think about courage, a lot of times though, even though many of us with challenges we have in our lives, just getting out of bed and going to work or getting through our day is, making us courageous enough. But we're usually thinking about it in extreme circumstances and extreme situations. Like the man who ran into a burning building to rescue a family of 5, or someone you may know who has decided to remove their children from public school and homeschool them, or someone that has been a victim of a crime and has to face their perpetrator in a court of law. Now, these are all situations where we'd be thinking to ourselves, gosh, that person is really brave. And we don't know if they're scared or not, but certainly in the end, they either said out loud to someone or to themselves, I have to do this. I don't have a choice. So I don't really see myself as brave. This is a decision that I knew that I had to make because I was at that point in my life. Now, us looking at that situation, we're subjective viewers, and it's all relative generally when you speak to people about the levels of confidence or boldness that folks show up with every day. But to me, as I mentioned before, it takes something special to do that, and it has a color for me. And courage to me would be like a yellowish, orange, reddish kind of color. It will show up as a burst of maybe like a sunburst or a bright light shining through a prism. It's something that you can't miss, and something that you call on, especially when you need it. So you need that special something to make that happen. Now, we may display acts of courage on a regular basis, and we don't necessarily consider them as extreme. But when we do try to do something that seems extreme, for us, it makes us feel very uncomfortable a lot of times. We're stepping out of our comfort zone often. And when we do that, we're having to face a fear usually. It's because of something we're afraid of, particularly if we've been avoiding doing this thing or saying this thing to someone. So that fear oftentimes is generated from 3 areas. We're either afraid of the actual thing that we need to do. You know, there's a fear of change, a fear of something being different than what it used to be. There's also a fear of the process of going through that change and what it's going to cause us to experience. And then we also have a fear of the outcome because, hey, what if it doesn't work out as well as we had hoped? We have a fear of failure, and that's very real. Now, many of us are pretty familiar with the adages, the devil you know is better than the devil you don't, or growing pains, we've heard that, you know, as referring to change, or the grass may not always be greener on the other side. And that's either signifying change that we've gone through, change we're going through, or change that we're about to go through, okay? And so they're not the most encouraging terms, but it really is very depictive of the experience of change. And, you know, particularly around significant events in our lives and in the way that we have to apply them. But the perspective of high achievers is that whatever that risk is to change and move out of that space, it's worth it. It's much better than being where we are. Because as high achievers, we want to move from mediocrity to mastery. We want to move from a space of stagnation to a space of evolving. We want to move. We want to grow. And so in order to do that, we have to face some things that are sometimes uncomfortable. So we have to really be honest with ourselves and accept that change largely in our own time, and we understand that, but at some point in time you have to make a decision and ask yourself, is the pain of change going to be worse for me than the pain of growth and the outcome from it? We have to ask ourselves that question. So I have a challenge for you, high achiever. This is something that may be a little uncomfortable for you, but I think it'll be a good exercise in challenging yourself around your own courage with yourself first, because you need to certainly make sure that you're able to face the rigors of change with yourself before you even endeavor doing it with anyone else. So try this exercise. Find a quiet place, get a hand mirror, and sit for 2 minutes and look at your reflection in that mirror. And then ask yourself this question: who have I not been honest with about my needs, about my desires, and about my thoughts? And what is it costing me? Now, a lot of different people may come up. Certainly a lot of different situations may come up. You can go through each of those if you like in your mind. But generally what you want to make sure that you're clear about is asking yourself, what is it you fear about having those conversations? And then what is that fear costing you? Because there's a cost for that, as we mentioned before. There's a cost to staying where you are, and there's a cost to growing. Now, which one is greater for you? Now, this is a relatively easy exercise because you'll just be in the privacy of your own space doing that. The first time I had to do this, I was among maybe about 20 women in a women's circle. And they were loving and very compassionate. And we were with each other because we were doing this in a public space for us. And so having to share a lot of that, you couldn't really hide your emotions. It was a very emotional experience. But for you, it won't be. But what I would like for you to share is what's come up for you while you were moving through that process. I think it's really important because it is a process, as we talked about a few minutes ago. And so you may not necessarily need to identify who the people are that you need to talk to or what the topic is, but what were you feeling? And I think in a space like this on social media, it'll be great to be able to share that so people can see, hey, I'm not alone in this. This person is having the same experience as me. So hopefully you will be open to taking on that challenge and sharing your experience in the comments below. I'd be really excited and eager to see what shows up there. So until next time, thank you so much for participating and have a great day.